Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Wolok. My partner in crime, Vasili Gianarakos, is under the weather today. He's not feeling that great, so had to run at this one alone. Wanted to make sure we got an episode out before the new year. Didn't know what people's schedule would be like on New Year Day, so typically I think I would have waited for the next episode, or the next game to go through, but wanted to get this one out just because, a holiday season. And I think there's been enough at least to talk about to make this a relatively interesting show. So yeah, reach out to Vasili, tell him you hope he feels better. He should be back by next week. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but for now I'm going at it solo, and those for you who've listened to me for a while know I have zero issues going solo or talking to myself. Pretty normal for my personality. Before we get started, we got a lot to talk about, actually. I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors and remind everybody first to please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for notification. Get notified when we release these episodes. And for the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes. Give us a rating and a follow if you can. Again, that is the best way to support this show. So if you're able to do that and give us that extra support, again, we humbly appreciate it. It's what helps us grow and what keeps us motivated. So if you haven't done that so far, please do so now. Also, shout out to our sponsors, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. They have one of the best, if not the best, cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Make sure to go check out Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Again, one of the best, if not the best, cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Go to them for your insurance adjustment needs. It will help facilitate the process between you and your insurance company and make sure you get the best claim possible. Again, Summit Public Adjusters, 215-752-0560. And I also want to give a brief shout out to our partner, SportsSpider.com. Guys, if you're tired of searching multiple websites for sports news, SportsSpider.com has you covered. They collect the latest articles, videos, and podcasts from around the web and organize them by your favorite teams. If you want to stay as up to date on our Philadelphia Flyers or the NHL in general, make sure to check out SportsSpider.com. The link for them is in the description, both the video and the audio version of this podcast. Again, SportsSpider.com. And make sure to always check out FlyersNittyGritty.com. Our content is pinned when it's released on SportsSpider.com at the very top. So, again, if you support SportsSpider.com, you support us as well. All right, let's get into it. So the Flyers are coming off of a pretty decisive win after a disappointing loss initially to Seattle Kraken, where they did carry the play for majority of the game. It did end 4-1 against Seattle, but I do not believe that score obviously reflects the tone of the game. Grubauer, quite frankly, was just on his game. Flyers didn't play their best game. I don't want to say, you lose 4-1, you played excellent. That's typically not the case. But offensively, they definitely drove enough offense to, at the very least, win that game in overtime, a tight game. I don't think necessarily Seattle played that well. I think they were kind of rescued by their goaltender. But again, he's part of the team, and that stuff happens. And the Flyers were unable to solve him, So it was a little bit surprising to lose that game, but team does kind of a history to kind of blow games after after long stagnation or holidays, and not necessarily this team, but the Flyers kind of do. Also before holidays, they typically do. They did manage to win those games prior to the holiday, so you were kind of hoping they would come out better, but they did respond well. They gave up the traditional ceremonial first goal against the Canucks, where it almost seems like you kind of hope they get it out of the way early so the team responds to it as such. I don't know if it's actually a response to a goal. I think they just kind of do their business and they ignore the fact that they're down a goal. I think that has been their biggest benefit. I don't know if it so much wakes the team up. But the Flyers were kind of hemmed in their own zone heavily in the beginning of the game. I was not concerned. There's always this aspect when you're watching the home team versus the away team, especially one that had the previous night of play and the other team's kind of been sitting, waiting around. The home team typically comes out with more energy. The away style game is typically simplified in comparison to a home game. You're kind of expected to be more entertaining, to score more goals. In a way, you just want to kind of squeeze away the win so you can kind of simplify your game a little bit. But, Vancouver was kind of all over them for the beginning. Dan Vladar does what he does, came up really strong, did give up one goal. And then that shift happened, and it's not just on Travis Konechny, but let's be honest, like the minute that he made that hit, the other line, he gets off on the line change. The Cates line comes up. Matvei Michkov whacks a puck with one hand out of the air. I think literally like 1% of 1% of the league could pull off what he did. It was subtly a gorgeous play, sets up Noah Cates. Cates scores, and the entire tone of the game just completely changed after that, right? Because, you're coming from Vancouver's side. They're hammering you the whole period, they're in their mind like dominating the game. They're like, oh, this is going to be one of those nights for us. We're gonna come out firing, and we're gonna take this victory for our home fans. And then that whole just getting rocked in the middle. Hronek gets rocked by TK. Doesn't get an assist on that play, but let's be honest, it generated the momentum that swung the game the opposite direction. Even though, Nick Seeler did have a fight earlier trying to get the tone of the game set. Maybe that helped a little bit. But I really believe it was that pivotal moment. And then, Michkov, who, kind of came out. The reality is, I've been talking about conditioning. Everybody's been talking about conditioning so much. He finally had, a little bit of a break here. I wouldn't say he looked bad against Seattle, but the whole team was kind of snake bitten on that one. But in this game, he definitely looked like himself from last season. He walked away with 2 assists, but the reality is he could have had a lot more points than that, right? He had a couple, breakaways, semi-breakaways, opportunities. It was really, he's kind of snake bit right now. What we're watching is also, the dreaded sophomore slump that does hinder a bunch of players that come into the league, whether they end up being superstars or not. It can be very typical, especially at young ages. Not so much if you come in as a 24-year-old or whatever. That typically doesn't happen. But, when you come in as a 19-year-old and, you're kind of, the league adjusts to you, you will adjust to being a pro. And also, obviously, the lack of conditioning. But last night, you saw a lot of the opportunities that Michkov was able to create the previous season kind of show up in this game, right? Like, subtly, just every play he was involved turned into a scoring chance. That's the Michkov that we knew, right? That's the one we know. We know it's in there. And you can see when he has a little bit extra rest, when he could recover, all of a sudden the explosiveness starts coming out of him. It should only be proof more. And I've already brought up examples in the past of players who took evolutionary jumps in their progression, literally from one year to the next, and citing conditioning being like the top thing. So if you guys want to downplay it, you can downplay it all you want. It's not real. It's not real. Any athlete will tell you this. Everybody knows this. There's a reason that Torts did the whole rope test and all that bullshit. It's a big reason why that stuff happens to begin with, in the first place. It's a big part of the game is being physically fit. It's the defining. It's why a lot of prospects don't work out, to be honest with you, is because they don't put in the work outside of the games. Some guys come in with tremendous talent, right? And it's the attention to detail beyond that turns them into good to great NHL players. Some guys, like Nick Seeler, are not the most talented, but they put the attention to detail off the ice that makes them to become. That's why you see a lot of late bloomers in the league, like Nick Seeler. Like Nick Seeler, I guarantee you, is one of the most conditioned players on the team, without a doubt. Almost guaranteed that guy's energy levels. Look at Travis Sanheim. He wasn't able to put out these type of minutes before until Tortorella came here and pushed him. He definitely changed his training, probably pushed himself beyond anywhere, from fear of being traded, and probably woke up a little bit like, damn, if I'd really just put this work in a while ago, because he was drafted as a very promising defenseman, right? And we're going to talk about Sanheim, and that's why the title of this episode is what it is. But yeah, Matvei Michkov, obviously, a lot of guys had pretty good games. I mean, Travis Konechny, big goal, big check, puts up 2 points in the game. Obviously, not only does he score a goal, but he has just a big game all around. He has the assist on an empty netter later. Owen Tippett's got that important. I saw somebody bashing Owen Tippett on Facebook. I'm like, what game did you watch? If people weren't happy with Owen Tippett's game last night, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not saying it was his best game he's ever had, but the guy was throwing checks left and right. He was defensively responsible. He had plenty of scoring opportunities and chances. That whole line actually feels like it's on the precipice of breaking out with Barkey and Couturier, showing really good chemistry. To be honest with you, it's kind of all four offensive units are effective right now. And everybody obviously had a good game. And, even Barkey, he ended up the game with a -1. But watching the way he played, you wouldn't say he had a bad game. He had a very good game. So like a lot of the surface level analysis stuff, it doesn't work for me. Again, Noah Cates had a really good game, goal and assist. Gabrankin, I thought, had good flashes. Trevor Zegras didn't even have his best game and still put up 2 assists last night. Travis Sanheim was a +3 on the night with 1 assist to carry that as well. So it's really impressive showing, right? The chemistry going throughout the lineup. Dvorak scores again, obviously on an empty netter, but the chemistry of the top line is still going. We're going to talk about Dvorak right after this. The chemistry of the Couturier line, like Denver Barkey is fitting like a glove. I saw Kevin Kurz make a tweet where he was like, "Oh, Barkey might be one of those players that just is better in the NHL than the AHL." And I'm like, what? He was good in the AHL too. That's like saying, "Oh, he was strong." He was never strong. He was a top line winger as a 19-year-old at the AHL level. He struggled a little bit in his transition and then just started putting up points. Same thing as Bonk. He's one of the top scorers on the team. Like, I don't know what the hell that comment was about. This is what I mean. It's like I see stuff online. I have no idea what people are talking about. I'm not everybody, not everything is nonsense, but like some of these comments, and I don't think Kevin Kurz says stupid shit. I don't agree with people like they hate on Kevin Kurz. I think most of it is nonsense. But I did see that comment. I was like, what? Like, Barkey has been good at every level. That is why I've been so high on him for the entire time. And for those of you listening, I've been talking about it for over 12 months, how this kid is going to be very difficult to send down. Just watch him play. You could have seen it in the, breaking news. Oh, I'm going to have to talk about this. Breaking news. It just came in from the Flyers. Perfect. It aligns with one of our topics. I'll bring it up in a couple minutes here. And not that surprising of a trade as well. I think people are going to like this one. So let me pull up his... So let me finish what I was saying. So, again, very interesting, just responses to the Barkey thing, but it's obvious the kid is really good. And I imagine that, unfortunately, Bump right now is injured. So even when he's ready, I don't think he's going to be tossed in the NHL immediately. But if Barkey is able to do what he's doing at this level, and he might get sent back down, like, be aware of that. I'm not saying he should be. He's playing like he fits in, but remember, he's very young. He's not Matvei Michkov. I know people want to bash on Michkov. Michkov, like, literally came into the NHL, was one of the top players in the league in his first year. So, Barkey is, he put up 2 assists in one game. He's not necessarily like lighting up the scoreboard. He's getting close. But there might be a little bit, wear down in there, so you might have to send him. But I think, by next season, he's probably out the gate on the Flyers. I can't see him not being on the team next year, like full-time basis, right? So even if he gets sent back for a little bit this year, I could see him coming back up at a certain point. He's obviously on the precipice of being legit because I really do see a top 6 forward in him too, not a third-line player. I think he has like everything that Bobby Brink has, but more. I think he's a better playmaker than Bobby Brink. He's a better skater. He's better defensively. Maybe Brink's a little bit better of a shooter. But I think Barkey's like overall game, this is why I talk about Brink, because like Brinky, you're competing with Barkey, and I do believe, he's an RFA. So anyway, we don't need to talk about that. We'll talk about the other trade. Yeah, let me look at where I had this topic. We'll move it up because it's relevant. Okay, so I had breaking news during this. This topic was a little bit further down. I do want to talk about Dvorak, but something that Vasili and I mentioned a few times already. I've been talking about, that the Flyers have been working to trade Zamula. I thought that was kind of obvious from my perspective. Just sheer numbers game. Guys, I don't go off of rumors. I don't care about that. I say it over and over again. I'm like literally on Puckpedia every day. I look at the roster, I look at contract spots, I look at finances, I am realistic and I treat no player with zero value. I do not operate that way. You can let the internet people talk about humans like they have no value and they're garbage. I think that stuff is immature and nonsense and usually proves to be utter nonsense, especially if you're a good GM. You don't treat your employees like that. Any good leader doesn't treat the people underneath him like a piece of garbage because it's usually a reflection of the person. And, a guy like Igor Zamula was obviously heavily blasted by the fans, kind of found his way out. And rightly, at this point, like this was not a malicious thing by the Flyers. Like the reality is they have other defensemen who are better than him. He is no longer a kid, right? He's in his mid-20s now. The development is not completely over for him, but the incremental better he could get, he could rebound completely. That is possible. But it's just a sheer numbers game, and they have a bunch of young defensemen behind him that they want to get a look at. So it's just I talked about it all the time. They just had too many defensemen. They still do. Yinning is down there too. Gannett is a newcomer. Obviously, Gronz was supposed to take Zamula's spot at one point this year. We have Oliver Bonk, who's most likely going to be on the Flyers next year. So it's just sheer numbers game. You don't want to lose anything for nothing. So the Flyers just announced a trade as I was recording. And they sent, so I'm on the Flyers email list with the media list. And they acquired Philip Tomasino. This is going to be an interesting because so the Flyers were looking for a forward. They managed to get one. It depends on what this guy's role will be. He has some NHL experience. He had some really good flash with I remember this from last year coming over on, I believe it was on waivers from the Predators to the Penguins. And in 50 games, he put up 23 points. So he was kind of doing like a Grunstrom type of run for them. Really good skater, very fast. Has some experience playing center. I don't know if he's an NHL center. But it has been in the AHL primarily this season. Well, I guess a little bit split. Played 9 games for the Penguins, had 1 assist, so obviously not bringing it this year. AHL, he's a star, 5 goals, 10 assists, 14 points, or 15 points in 14 games, plus 12. So obviously a good AHL player already. So like AHL help as well. So I imagine he might be going straight to the Phantoms just because where the Flyers numbers are. But clearly he's only 24 years old, so still upside. Doesn't turn 25 till July. Young player. This is a really good trade. Former first round pick. He might not end up being an amazing player for the Flyers, but this is exactly the type of return you wanted for Igor Zamula. Again, you wanted a guy past his development point. I thought they would end up getting somebody even a little bit older than 24. So I think 24 is golden. Again, very fast player, has NHL upside, has some success in the NHL already. A really good AHL player, and the Phantoms right now are not scoring goals, so he could help them tremendously. Especially if they lost Grunstrom, they lost Bump, they lost Barkey. Right, those are 3 of their best players at the AHL level on forward that they have lost. So this balances their lineup a lot, quite a bit. So this is a really good move by Danny Briere. I really like this trade. Very smart trade. Really, I don't think he could have done better. And he just continues to hit the nail on the head. I see people's reaction to Danny Briere and Rick Tocchet, and I think these people are absolutely delusional. You might be listening to this, you might disagree with me, that's fine. But like the complaining about Rick Tocchet, how terrible of a coach he is. Meanwhile, the Flyers have the sixth best winning percentage in the NHL, and they finished like at the bottom of the league last year, and he just completely turned the team around in 1 year. Terrible coach. Yeah, that's obvious evidence that he's terrible coach. He doesn't do things your way, and you're an NHL professional with years of being a star in the NHL, so he doesn't know what he's talking about. But you on Twitter, you're the expert. Got it. Got it. Love that logic. And Danny Briere just continues to make good moves. I mean, the whole offseason success. Obviously with Dvorak, I mean, he hit on everything. Hit the Ryan Ellis trade. He had a dead contract. Ended up getting Grundstrom. Grundstrom is probably not the guy, that he is right now, right? Like he's on a 40-goal pace or something like that. He's got 7 goals in 12 games. But again, just a good fourth liner, something this team really needed. He got him for practically nothing. It was a complete win of a trade for the Flyers, right? You got a legitimate NHL player for a player who has zero value for the team because he's been injured. If anything, he's been a detriment because we had to, kind of sit with that cap hit to have us like kind of managing the cap. So it was a complete win for us. It was a win for San Jose too. They Grundstrom was done there, similar to Zamula. So like, people give up on Zamula, he does have a chance to turn it around. Doesn't mean he's going to be like a star player, but I wouldn't be shocked if Zamula ends up being like a decent bottom pairing defenseman in the NHL that can plot like 25 points a year. Like that wouldn't surprise me. That might surprise other people, but sometimes you just need a change of pace. Like, again, he's an undrafted player who played like hundreds of games in the NHL. Like, think about what a success that kid is. I mean, people look at it with the wrong lens. It's like everybody's got to be a good to great player, otherwise you're garbage. I just don't believe that. You're talking about the 1% of the 1%. The AHL players, AHL is arguably the second best league in the world. And we talk about them like they're nonsense. Meanwhile, you ever met these people? If they were your friend, you'd be so jealous of them that they even touch the NHL ice. I just hate this like separation of respect that is completely unwarranted. But this is a really good trade. Love this trade. I'm kind of hoping Tomasino sees some NHL time in the near future. But the fourth line's been so good the way that it is. It's unnecessary. And quite frankly, the Phantoms really need the help right now. So I imagine he's going to follow the Grundstrom path, right? He's 24 years old. He makes it's literally an even swap contract wise with Zamula, so 1.7 million. They swap that up. Z moves on. Now it's a little bit better for the Phantoms because they have too many defensemen. Like I saw Kyrou was sat last game, right? You don't really want Kyrou sitting. They're rotating guys in. I think Gronz is still injured. Like McDonald was back in. The only one they're not really rotating out is Bonk. Understandably so. They're the most invested in him. Gannett seems to be coming on his game. He's been playing consistently, top pairing. He put up a couple assists the other night. He's another guy that has NHL upside too, has already played in the NHL. Like I saw somebody comment online asking me like how Bonk is doing because according to him, there's nobody else at the AHL level who has any NHL relevancy. And this is what I mean. It's like, okay, go ahead and make those definitive statements. You're going to be proven wrong because the odds of you actually knowing much about any of these players pretty slim. Because I tend to know more than the average person, and I don't know everything about these guys. Most people are completely bullshitting you. If they want to talk to you in definitives, they're probably bullshitting you. Everything, for the most part, is Pareto principle, 80-20. So even if I'm sure about something, I'm 80% sure. I'm not 100% sure. It's very rare that anybody should be 100% sure about anything. It doesn't normally operate that way. Speaking of being sure of things, let me move on to another transaction that's kind of popped up of late. So this is another thing that Vasili and I have brought up. What do we do with Dvorak? I mean, I think we're still a little bit split. I imagine even the organization's a little split. Like, what do you do with Dvorak? I'll be honest. I think trading him out of the organization this season, I don't think that's on the table for the Flyers. I really don't. Even if they just missed the playoffs, like I saw people bashing them. Be like, oh, they learn nothing from history. It's like literally what they've done the past like 3 years is trade away guys at the trade deadline. They can get a first round pick. The cupboard is completely stocked. They have first round picks over the next 2 years. They have all their picks. Just everything is just people not knowing what they're talking about and projecting it on the organization of much smarter, much more successful, much more business savvy people, and then talking down to these people like they're children. Again, I'm not saying you have to agree with everything they do, and I'm going to talk about one of those things that I did not agree with the organization, and I was proven right. So it's not like you have to agree with them, but the assuming that these people have no idea what they're doing, even things I don't agree with, I can understand the rationale behind it. So the Christian Dvorak thing is getting interesting, right? So David Pagnotta came out and said that the Flyers are working on a re-signing of Dvorak during the season, it seems. The rumor is 2 to 3 years at $5.5 million. Vasili said $7 million the other day. I was like, I'm out. I'm not giving Dvorak $7 million. He's not a $7 million player to me. But to continue, extend his current contract, I think everybody would prefer a 2-year extension on the guy rather than 3. It's just safer for the organization. So for me, it's 3 years at $5 million or 4.75 or 2 years at 5.5. So that would be overall, 3 years at 5.5. That's a good contract. He would not have gotten that in the offseason, right? From a team, he probably would have got $3.5 million for 3 years, something like that. We gave him 1 year at 5 point. We took the risk with him, but he fits in like a glove. That's just the reality. He might not be number one center on this team, but the cap is going up, right? So that $5.5 million, it's not, we have to regulate to this, right? It's more of a $4 million contract. And we have Cates here, and nobody ever said that Cates and Dvorak have to play center, or have to play, a top 6 role, right? We have these middle 6, we have the 4th line going. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Dvorak or Cates have to move to a wing spot because Luchenko and Nesbitt are in the organization and they're just too good, right? That's fine. That's fine. We're going to have so many ELCs. As long as they're not long-term contracts, right? We're going to have so many ELCs on this team, right? Entry-level contracts, which are going to be bare minimum money outside of Matvei Michkov and Porter Martone. Most guys are not going to be large cap hits. They're going to be pretty small. Most either under $1 million or slightly above. So you're going to have a lot of these young guys rotate in. You need good veterans, and Dvorak fits. He fits. He can play wing. He can play center. He's really good at faceoffs. He's good at defense. He's shown he's better at offense than people assumed. He's having on pace for a career year. This is the type of guy, again, he's not over the hill. He's 29 years old. So, you're signing him through the rest of his prime, right? Till about 31, 32 years old. It makes sense. It's a good bet, and right now you're paying Hathaway $2.4 million. Maybe you find a way to move on from Hathaway. And don't tell me he can't do it, because most people told me that he wouldn't get anything for Zamula. Puckpedia themselves tweeted at Vasili, because he was like, "Oh, the Flyers are going to move Zamula for a trade." They're like, "Oh, they're not getting anything for him." Do you see my point? How often do you see that opinion online? This guy's not worth a bag of pucks. Nobody wants him. Boom. If you do not treat your assets like they're garbage, you force other teams to meet you there. Your mindset of, I don't like this one, get rid of them, that is an immature mindset that does not play. If you are listening to other people's opinions online and they have that attitude, they're probably not very good. They probably don't know what's going on. They're probably always confused, which is why they're so angry, because that's typically where confusion comes from, is your expectations, right? Their expectations are incorrect to begin with, and then it comes out with anger or nonsense. It's I never expected Zamula to be a top 4 defenseman. I just wanted the kid to be a bottom pairing defenseman in the NHL. And when I see we have enough, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, move on. We have enough. We got a good D, It wasn't. I didn't bring. I'd be more upset if somebody like Sanheim, I expect to be a top pairing D man, and he comes in as a number 6. That's something where I would be more frustrated. The Nolan Patrick thing was very frustrating. You expect the guy to come in and at least be a top 6 center for, 15 years, 10 years for your organization, and he has no NHL career essentially. Injured from the time he shows up till the time he leaves. Retires at 24 years old, whatever, 25. That is more upsetting than a Igor Zamula situation. So yeah, Dvorak, I'm for it. I think we should make it happen. There are other guys in the lineup. Like I was thinking about, like re-signing Dvorak again. Bobby Brink is an RFA, and you got other wingers. It's kind of like, days might be numbered for Bobby Brink, even if he's really good. Like I'm not saying that they should or they will, but again, when you're trying to make room on the wing and you're trying to bring other assets into the organization, Bobby Brink might be part of a package. He's an RFA. I said this in the very beginning of the year with Zamula. He's an RFA. He's up for a contract. They don't want to lose players for nothing, right? And you can't lose an RFA for nothing, so his value is even higher because he's younger, and you're like, I don't know if we're gonna sign him. I'm not so sure, you know. But a guy like Dvorak, you kind of lose nothing by keeping him, especially at the same rate that he's making now. It's a good bet. It's a good bet to make because your team is not completely full of great players. That's how you get to a championship team. Like, ideally, you want Dvorak on your third line, right? We want two more elite guys to enter that top nine, and you know what I mean? And like Dvorak play with, Noah Cates on a shutdown line. Like, that would be awesome, right? And then Michkov moves his way back up the lineup. We have Bonk on there. We have Martone coming. We're going to have to figure something out. There's going to have to be some kind of move over the next couple of years, and they don't have to do it now. But Dvorak, let's say, the final year of his contract, he plays fourth line center, $5.5 million when the cap has gone up another 2 times, which we know it's going to do. It's going to be like $3.5 million for a really good fourth line center, which you saw the effects of not having good fourth line players and how much it sucks. So I think it's a wise move. Hathaway will be gone by then. Delorier will be gone by then. We'll see what happens with Grabankin. If he's going to be part of the organization, he might end up getting dealt. For all we know, might end up staying. Grundstrom. What are we going to do with Grundstrom? I don't even know what to do with him. Part of me is like, you brought in Tomasino. You have Bump. Martone is coming at the end of the year. Can you flip? Maybe it's worth flipping Grundstrom because I'm pretty sure, this is the final season of his contract. So the odds of them re-signing him long-term, it's possible because he's been good. But they also have to, at that point, be like, okay, well, we're giving Grundstrom a fourth-line role. Abels probably will also walk away as a free agent, right? So maybe they do keep Grundstrom, but then are you picking Grundstrom over Grabankin, who's 6 years younger? I will say, Grundstrom was a second-round pick at the NHL level. He's a pretty good skater. He's clearly a pretty good player. I don't think he was projected to be like a swing NHL guy. I think he was drafted assuming that he could be a third-line player in the NHL. And he's playing like that for us, for sure. So it's interesting what to do with Grundstrom. I haven't figured that one out yet. Again, it's a sheer numbers game, right? Like, Hathaway might be like, he's not going to retire, he's going to finish out his contract. He'll probably retire after his final year is my guess. But maybe the Flyers opt to move Hathaway. He's very much liked with the organization. And if you moved him right now with all the struggles, you might have to eat 50%. So you're not saving too much. You're saving $1.2 million towards the cap. So it's not a huge amount of savings for a guy you like that you think you might be able to rebound from. Maybe you move him next year or in the offseason. So I'm not sold on that one. D'Lo is going to probably walk off, maybe retire. Abels, I think, will get another chance somewhere else in the NHL. Maybe get an AHL deal from the Flyers, but I doubt it. He's hitting 30. And honestly, he's not a bad fourth line player. I could see another team with his size and his skill set. I could see him getting an opportunity somewhere else, but it's gonna be a full house here. So, but Grundstrom is definitely stuck out in a really good way. He's very useful. He's not big, but he's strong for 6 foot. He's quick on his feet. He's got a good shot. He scores a big goal. And you're not jumping to put Barkey or Bump or Martone or Luchenko or Nesbitt or Murtag or any of these guys that you have in the organization at a fourth line role, right? You do need veterans on the fourth line. I wonder if he's going to be that guy for us. Maybe with Hathaway, maybe by the end of the season or maybe by next year, Tomasino might be, they might opt to keep him, though he's also ripe for maybe just walking away in free agency. But with his speed, I suspect the Flyers are interested. It's a younger version of Richard, essentially. So maybe he can still turn out to be an NHL player. He's got a little bit of size. He's already shown some really good success at the NHL level. I don't think the Phantom or the Penguins went into the season expecting Tomasino to be an AHL guy. I think they expected him to be an NHL guy for them with, 23 points in 50 games. He was on pace for, legitimate third line role, statistics, right? Like 23 points, 50 games. Was that 35 to 40 points on the season? Something like that. Let's say 35 points on the season, 15 goals, 20 assists type of season. That's a pretty good player. So, I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but it's getting interesting. The fact the Flyers are so good. And again, the Zamula thing was kind of predicated with a new agent. He knew that was going to happen. So bringing in Tomasino for that, better than just terminating his contract, getting nothing, in my opinion. You got a guy that you value immediately at the AHL level. And I know most people watch this. Maybe you don't really pay attention to the AHL. You get like little updates here and there. Phantoms are struggling right now. They are. So this could be a good one. So let's go to the big piece of news that came out today outside of this trade. Travis Sanheim has been officially named to Team Canada. Part of it might be that Tocchet is coach, but again, he made the previous team, not for the Olympics, but obviously for the World Tournament. But, this is kind of like that lesson that we should all learn that I feel like people just don't learn from. The Flyers almost traded him away. And I've said this story on here before, but, I was in the press box after that trade, not the press box. I'm sorry. I was at practice in the press area, with Meltzer and Jordan Hall and Charlie O'Connor. And I remember talking with them and I was like, that was one of the best trades the Flyers never made. And Jordan Hall looked at me. He's like, I totally agree. He's like, I thought trading for Torrey Krug was a huge mistake. It reminded me of worse than the Ryan Ellis trade. I was like, we are going to trade for another injured defenseman. And what happened right after? I knew it. I was like, just to get a first round pick, a late first round pick, we're going to trade for a shitty defenseman. And we're going to have 12 million against the cap that's just never going to move. And we're going to have to find a way to get rid of it. So I'm really happy that trade never happened. And obviously the Flyers are thrilled. And it's like a lesson. And I'm going to bring up another defenseman after this that I think people, especially after last night, I feel like it's even more relevant. But Travis Sanheim, well-deserved. I suspect he will be one of the starting six, too. Especially after they downplayed him and then admitted as a coaching staff that they did. I think it's okay to admit now that Travis Sanheim is a number one defenseman on this team. He's not a top 10 defenseman in the NHL, because offensively he's not like a dynamo, but on his defensive skill, his skating, his ability in the zone, the guy is legitimate. Like the same way people look at Devin Taves as a top defenseman in the world, Travis Sanheim has entered that conversation. He's probably one of the best complementary top pairing defensemen in the NHL. We don't have a number one guy playing with him. We don't have a top 5, top 7, top 8 defenseman in the league. They're extremely rare. Most NHL teams do not have one. But we have a damn good one in Travis Sanheim. So well deserved to him. Congratulations to him. It's good to see that he is recognized for how huge of a role he plays for the Flyers, because you can't just make the call as an assistant coach. Like Tocchet can vouch for him, but he can't make the call. At the end of the day, it's Hockey Canada and then most likely the head coach's call. So Rick Tocchet at least is, got his guy. Obviously Travis Konechny didn't make it. He wasn't having a good enough season to do that. He is now on fire. Now he's having a really good season. Took him a little bit. Maybe the pressure of making the team got to him. I don't know about that. The team was kind of struggling to score in the beginning of the season as well, in general. So it's a shame for Konechny but you know what? The roles, like, they added Tom Wilson, who's a good player. I like Tom Wilson. I'd love to have him on this team. He's gonna be playing a fourth line muscle role. Like, you don't want Konechny in a fourth line muscle role. They do have Brad Marchand on there, and I know Marchand's a great player. Like, he's an elite player throughout his career. But do you really think that Marchand's a better player than Travis Konechny is today? They're kind of like the same type of player, and I don't really think he is. Um, but he had a great playoffs. He's got heroics in his past. He's a pest, a pain in the ass to play against. You can tell Canada was looking for that, especially because they know they're gonna have to play Team USA with the Chuck brothers on there. USA is gonna be nasty, so I get it. You get why you want a Tom Wilson and a Marchand who, he might be 5'9", but he might as well be 6'1". He's like that type of guy. Like, his size is completely irrelevant to his game. Um, yeah, so shame for him. But again, Sanheim should be a lesson to everybody who doubts players' ability to rebound. It doesn't always happen like this, but most players do rebound. Like, they do find their game. Maybe it's not even in the NHL. Like a guy like Jordan Wheel who goes off to the KHL and becomes an elite player there. But like the dismissal of talent so quickly, a lot of the time, not I don't know if it's most of the time, but a lot of times going to end up biting you in the ass. Your patience is a weapon in this game, and it's hard to be patient. It's hard to lose, you know. And it's hard not to have a plan and to wait for guys when you're paying them a lot of money. It's hard. Being patient is very difficult. It's why it's a virtue. It's difficult. And Sanheim proved everybody wrong, including the team that drafted him, right? Well, everybody thought it, including myself, thought it was going to be Ivan Provorov. It ended up being Travis Sanheim, who, as of right now, potentially is the best Flyers homegrown defenseman of the modern era. I mean, you can probably go back to the 70s, maybe the 80s, but all the best ones that you can think of on paper, Howe, Timonen, Desjardins, even Braden Coburn, you can name all of them. None of them were drafted by the Flyers. Shane Gostisbehere, probably if he would still be here, he would be one of the highest scoring defensemen in Flyers history, that's for sure. Offensively. Defensively, that's where his game didn't evolve enough, but still, there's another example of a big rebounding player who, quite frankly, was thrown under the bus here by the coaching staff and the fans, and both of them were full shit about him. Somehow he's on a phenomenal team and, puts up point per game numbers as a defenseman. People just can't allow people to have their role, too, which is really annoying. But I do want to talk about Jamie Drysdale in conjunction because, I was listening to PHLY, the post game, a little bit, and both Bill and Charlie were talking about, maybe Drysdale doesn't belong on the power play. And all I can think in my head, I'm like, he's 23 years old. Okay, once the stick breaks on him, the other time he whiffs on it. Is this really how, like, that is not wise thinking. Like, something in my gut, and I have no proof for this, tells me that he could end up being the best defenseman on this team next year. Like, people want to forget he is younger than all of these guys and has the highest ceiling of all of them as well. And he has been so much better defensively than anyone anticipated. So why don't you just give him a minute? Like, there is still a chance here that this guy might end up being, I don't know if he's going to be like a legit top 10 defenseman in the league, but just like people didn't think Sanheim would be a legit top pairing, 25-minute a night guy, I think we might be, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Drysdale is better than York next year. Like, that wouldn't shock me. He's younger than York only by a year, but he's still younger. And I would argue defensively, he's caught up to him. So, it's getting interesting with Drysdale. It's a lot more interesting than people realize. People are so obsessed with living in the past on the Cutter Gauthier thing that I think we might be holding a real gem right now in Drysdale. He's completely exceeded my expectations defensively. The fact the defense part is down, I'm only now just waiting for the offense to break out. Not that I'm saying he's going to be a 70-point defenseman, but if he can become a 45, 50-point defenseman, which I think is in him, the skating and all that, I don't know, I'm getting pretty excited about him. Considering he put up 35 points as a rookie, on a bad team, I don't see why, as he gets better, as this team gets better, again, we're still kind of living in the mess of creating a new system. So I don't know. It's getting interesting. All right, let me take a quick break right now just to remind everybody, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for notification, for a reminder when we release these episodes. And for the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes. Give us a rating and a follow if you can. Again, that is the best way to support this show. Okay, let me do a little screen share. Gonna do the usual spiel of Puckpedia, which I had open. There we go. Let's just go through the lines. One thing I was thinking about with this, as the cap goes up, is there an opportunity to increase the amount of contracts at the NHL level by one? So, like, maybe give teams the opportunity to carry 2 extra forwards, 2 defensemen, or 3 goalies if they want. The cap is going up so significantly. Like, you don't have to have a bigger roster, but with the cap going up, I mean, they're going to do maybe another expansion, which I'm not really in favor of. Financially, I am, but like, it just makes things messier. Like, now it's like such a perfect number where we have it now at 32. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but I do wonder, it's another NHL job. It could be interesting to add one additional contract spot at the NHL level. And maybe for the teams overall to be able to compensate for it. So let's look at the lines. So same thing that we saw in last game. Again, the Zegras, Dvorak, Konechny line looking good. No reason to break them up at all. Barkey, Couturier, and Tippett. Again, haven't put up a ton of points or anything like that, but they have been. It just feels like a breakout is on the precipice. And I could say the same thing about the third line with Michkov, Cates, and Brink. It feels like finally that line has been really getting chemistry. And I think it really comes down to Cates and Michkov playing together because Brink already has the experience with him and Brink's already good with Cates. We know that. And it seems like Michkov is just kind of fitting in, understanding his role in that line a little bit more. It allows him to be the flashy guy, which is good because they're just going to be like hunters. The one thing that still drives me absolutely nuts about Michkov, when he battles for pucks, he's got one hand on his stick. Has anybody told him to change that? Like, I consistently see him like defensively, like just kind of reaching with one stick. And sometimes I understand it, but a lot of times I'm like, dude, go in there and lift the stick. This is what the stuff I want to see from Michkov evolve as the season goes on, is get better at like fighting for the puck. He's so much stronger than the results of fighting for the puck are right now. He's much stronger than Bobby Brink. So it's like he should be, when he's digging for pucks in the corner, I expect him to inevitably be the player who comes out with it 70% of the time. I think that's where he will be eventually, but I do notice a lot of one-handed stick battles, and I don't like it. I don't like it. There's not again, his game has not been amazing this year in general, but it's something he was doing last year too, and I don't like it. It's not a recipe for success in puck battles. So I think he needs to clean some of that up as well. But overall, the line has been doing much better. And obviously, some points on the board for them last night. And very crucial game. I mean, he was a huge part of that victory the other night. Every time he was on the ice, he made something happen. I didn't even notice he only played 13 minutes, to be honest with you. And if you look at the lineup, like everybody lost minutes. It was in a complete balanced offense. This is how this team is succeeding right now. It's just all 4 lines rolling, all 3 different defensive pairs rolling. Minutes are spread out evenly. That is actually very good for sustainability. A lot of people online are like complaining about it. I don't give a shit. Are they winning? Are they getting better? Are they doing it as a team? I talk about it all the time. Championship teams, not that I'm saying this is championship teams, but championship teams require an entire good team, not an elite guy that you can ride behind. That does not work. Edmonton tried to do that and they failed over and over again. So they just kept adding good players until they became a Stanley Cup contender. Like they're not doing it just with McDavid and Dryside anymore. I almost said Drysdale. You need an entire good team. And an entire good team will make us a playoff team. And we need to be a playoff team to attract free agents, to attract that next level talent that everybody wants, to keep players wanting to play here. Like this whole tanking thing is complete bullshit. I brought it up over and over again. Frank Cervalli can eat his words right now. He was wrong, and I knew he was wrong when he was saying what he was saying. He's wrong a lot, to be honest with you guys. If you really listen to Frank Cervalli, often he's wrong more than he is right. What his skill set is he's a very good journalist. He's a very good communicator and reporter and knowing what teams are thinking internally. But if you go off his hockey scouts, it's his hockey scouting, it's not very good. He's wrong more than he is right. And it was obvious to me at the time that the Flyers were a much better team than Chicago and San Jose. And I would argue that the Ducks have been inching their way. Again, they've been adding players periodically. It's not just Cutter Gauthier that made them good. Pat Verbeek is systematically, yes, it was a losing trade for him to trade Zegras for whatever reason, right? But he did get a good player in Ryan Poehling for it. He did get a good asset. And he recognized, he's looking at his books, he's looking at his depth. He recognized what he could lose, what he needs to make room for. I guarantee they have more. They have Beckett Seneca who just came into the league, right? They knew they got Cutter Gauthier. You got to balance out your roster a little bit too. I'm not saying there was no mismanagement with Zegras. Obviously, was some. I mean, you're not going to be perfect, but Anaheim has been slowly been building this team up. So I think they're on their way up as well. Though I don't know if they're as good as people think they are. I think adding Quenneville was a nice touch, a winning coach. But I think a lot of the buzz around them is just because they're putting up points. I'm not sure how good of an actual team they are. They're a high scoring team, but I don't know if they can win playoff games. I'll be honest. Because typically your defensive game is what is key in the playoffs. Because scoring is just down overall in general. It's just a lot harder to score in the playoffs. Yeah, so the fourth line stays together. I don't know when Delorier or Hathaway are getting back in the lineup. As long as that fourth line is rolling, I don't know. Maybe Gulbenkian could sit a game, I guess, but why? He's been playing well. But I wouldn't be shocked if they want to get like Hathaway a game back, right? He was a big part of this team. I don't think they just want to sit him, so don't be surprised if he does make his way back in the lineup for Gulbenkian. D'Lo is like 14th forward. I think he kind of knows the writing's on the wall for him and that the end of his career is here. Where Hathaway might play even beyond the Flyers. We'll see. Maybe even AHL guy. Cam York, Sanheim, no reason to split them up. Andre Drysdale, again, still playing well together. Sealer and Ristolainen. I do kind of suspect that Andre and Risto might be the better combination in the long term. I don't know. I also don't know what they're going to do with Juleson. He's not. I mean, there's no reason to put him in the lineup right now. He's clear cut number 7. It's not like he's close. The only case you can make close is Nick Sealer, but Sealer's better than he is. He also plays the left side, so I think it's really going to take an injury. But we'll see. We know that Taka will try to mix guys in, and Ersson has his moments. So Vladar's obviously clear cut the number 1 guy. I talked about this last episode. You know, Vladar's best year is now, his best season ever, and people are so down on Ersson, but he's 26. I talk about it all the time. 27 is that age for goalies. It doesn't mean he's gonna magically turn into a star. But what if they do give him a run for another year and be like, let's give it to him again. Not many better options out there in free agency. And with Bjarnason in the minors, Maybe they're like, well, Bjarnason will be our number three next year, or maybe Kolosov will get better. He's still pretty young too. He's only 23. The lines for the AHL again, they've been struggling though. I will say this, and then I'll end on World Juniors talk. I will say this. They did have a miraculous comeback. They were down 2-0, getting outplayed the entire game. They scored with 32 seconds left and then scored with 3 seconds left. And they were down 2-0 and took it to overtime. I believe they lost in a shootout in the end. So pretty impressive comeback. That's interesting. Tucker Robertson has been elevated. Remember, guys, he was on the fourth line for majority of the year. Same with Garrett Wilson. You can see they've lost significant talent. So now Tomasino is probably going to make his way into this lineup, is my guess. He's going to start off in the minors, I assume, especially with Hathaway and Delorier just sitting there. So that should be a good boost for them. They could really use another scorer down there with Bump being out and Barkey being up and Grunstrom now being most likely permanently with the Flyers for the rest of the year. Can't see him being sent back down. So hopefully it helps. They've been losing. They have been like a 500 team. Hey, they just scored their second goal of the game. They're winning 2-0 against Hershey right now. So that's cool. That's good to see. Let me see who scored those goals. I think Lane Peterson scored one. Let's see if we have anybody else exciting that scored the other goal. Lane Peterson has both. So that's cool. Oliver Bonk got his first point. First assist. First pro point for Bonk. That's pretty dope. I think it's his first. No, sorry, it's his second. Right? Oh, no, they added it in real time. Yeah, it's his first point. Mind you guys, I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed with Bonk, but you got to realize he was injured for clearly a significant amount of time. And it's his first time entering the pros. So you're just going to have to be patient with Bonk. I think it would be very different if he walked into the season healthy than where it is right now. And Alexei Kolosov is playing, which is good. Okay. Yeah, so that's the offense. The defense, Yinning is playing with Gannett. Again, Gannett is having a better, again, another guy who missed a lot of time just for not signing a contract, right? Not playing. He had 2 assists the other night. He's proven to be a very good AHL defenseman in the past. Again, he had 23 points in 58 games last year, 9 goals, 14 assists, was a plus 13. So this is a guy who could end up being the best defenseman on the Phantoms this year at some point, playing with Yinning, who unfortunately, got his call up now back in the minors. He could be towards the end. Roman Schmidt, the trade for Ethan Sampson. I'm still a little confused by that trade. I mean, I get it, but I also really liked Sampson. I thought he had NHL upside. So Schmidt, the big man, is now down there. Zamula is now out. So I suspect that Murchison and Kyrou will get rotated back in. I don't know if injury is a part of either one of them, but I can't imagine them benching Murchison. Probably did, just to rotate guys in. Plus, the team has not been that successful, so they're probably looking for, mix stuff up. Like McDonald was benched. Helge Grans, I'm pretty sure, is injured. So we'll see what's going on with there. But Bjarnason's been damn good down there. I'm really excited about Bjarnason. It's a very impressive first season for him. He's already he's got to be one of the best rookie goaltenders in the AHL this year. So, again, 7 wins, 3 losses, 3 overtime losses. A 2.61 goals against and a .908 save percentage. So, that's pretty good. That's really good for just converting over. If you think about a lot of the goalies we brought in the past, not named Carter Hart, they tend to start at the ECHL level at his age. It's really just him and Hart so far who've kind of made that successful transition at such a young, at that 19 to 20-year-old age, when they were like fully cooked at the lower level. The only other young guys we really had come over were Ersin and Kolosov, who were older. Um, and I don't think either one of them had these good of numbers. Well, Kolosov refused to play in the minors, so his numbers sucked when he did play down there. His numbers are okay right now. They're not awful. They're also not amazing. Um, but that also is not a reflection of purely goaltending, right? A lot of time like the team must be struggling as well to lose these games. It's not just goaltending because they're losing with both guys right now. So let's talk a little bit about World Juniors, and then I'm going to end it there. So those have obviously been ongoing. Porter Martone had a big, didn't have a big game his first game, but he is still part of that dynamic top six. He's playing top line right wing for Canada. I think he had 2 goals and an assist the other night. McKenna had like 2 goals, 2 assists that night or something like that. Or maybe it was 1 goal. No, yeah, two. Oh, no, he had a hat trick. McKenna had a hat trick that night. Martin had 2 goals, 1 assist. So, again, he's like top 3 player with that team right now, which is not surprising. He's a big, big, big asset. He's huge for this organization. I cannot wait to watch this kid. Van Sagi is being rotated in and out of the lineup. Luchenko was demoted to the fourth line for 1 game. Again, a lot of people are like kind of jumping on Luchenko. I don't think people realize how deep Canada is. Like Luchenko would not be playing. Like if he was playing for Sweden, he would be playing in the top 6. Okay, like Canada has the luxury of pushing all their other players down. I am not taking it that seriously. It's a shame, almost more. But I know what I see in Jet Luchenko. I trust my instinct on him. I'm still expecting big things from him, and I'm excited about him. So, again, he's just a little bit older than Martone. It's not like a significant. I think he's 2 months older than Martone, so it's not like a humongous age difference or something like that. So, um, yeah, Jack Berglund quietly having an excellent tournament. He had 2 goals the other night. Also captain of his team. That's another guy. How many people were shitting on Jack Berglund? He might be with the Phantoms next year. Nobody talks about him, but he is one of the best Swedish prospects in the world. He's a bad skater. Give a shit about these comments at this point. You start realizing that none of these internet comments matter at all. At all. Oh my God, they don't matter. And it sucks for us because, you want insight on players, and then you realize that the insight almost is completely irrelevant. It's like 20% of the equation. It's like, that's like high. You start realizing that, like, one, you have no idea how these players are going to develop over time. Two, the scouting on them cannot be judged properly because it's not coming from NHL level scouts. They don't give away that information. So the people who are scouting them are not as trustworthy as they sell you on their ability to analyze the game. They're more there for entertainment purposes than building a winner. And then you realize that, like, there are roles for players in the league. Like, I don't know what Jack Berglund's role in the NHL is going to be. Maybe it's a third line center, but right now he's, again, he's part of the older crop. He didn't get to play last year though because of injury. Probably would have been a big part of their team last year. Still a very young guy playing against men. I don't see why he can't be a good NHL player. I mean, nothing wrong with being a really good third line player. I mean, look at what Dvorak's doing. He's a really good third line player. Look at Noah Cates, really good third line player. It's like, okay. I like Jack Berglund. I'm excited about him. The interesting stuff coming out of Finland, Heikki Rahonen's he's been good in every tournament. The more interesting story is Max Westergaard. And you watch his highlights. So I haven't seen him play much, so this is a very naive statement. But I look at him on paper, his scouting report, the little I've seen, a little bit of Denver Barkey in him. He's like this smaller, speedy, really gritty type of player. Plays above his size, good playmaker, good skater, fast on his feet, creating opportunities for Finland. I really like the pick. I mean, there's no denial. I mean, the Flyers' last draft was absolutely insane. And I've not been talking about him on here, but Nathan Quinn He's got 35 points in 30 games. It's in the queue, so those numbers are a little bit deceiving. But a 1.17 point per game. Again, these are like the end of the round or the end of the draft for the Flyers, taking Quinn and Westergaard. And I don't know, looking pretty good to me in the early stages. These guys are really young and showing some serious promise. Again, Westergaard has 21 points in 12 games at the under 20 National League. A 1.75 point per game. He has no point playing in the SHL with men, but again, probably playing bottom line. It's the same thing that Berglund was going. A lot of these people are like people are looking at Carter Amico. Again, he came back from injury. I have not been paying attention to him too much. I would not like take these like numbers so seriously, these stats. You know, like nobody even knew who Ty Murchison was, even when he was playing for the Phantoms until he got a call up. And then you see the kid play and you're like, oh, this kid's pretty good. Like if they drafted Amico, this mammoth-sized guy who was initially slated to be a first-round pick, and as a defensive defenseman, mind you, not like an offensive defenseman, and you're not seeing points, and you're seeing like a -10 or whatever he is. I'm not even sure what he's at now. He's -7. It's actually gone up. He was like a -17 at one point. So obviously his game has been improving. And he's got no points in 18 games. Like I don't care. Sure, it would be nice to see him score, but I want to see him like way past missing, 9 months from a serious injury to his knee, like first year in college hockey. Like that's a project guy. Like you're not going to see him in pro hockey for at least another season beyond this one, at least. Like he's a guy who probably will come over to the AHL at like 21, like Devin Kaplan. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, that's it for today. I'm gonna end it on that one. Did about an hour here by myself. So, you add Vasili. There's another 45 minutes for you. So just daydream that he was in there. But yeah, I hope everybody has a great new year. Hopefully the Flyers win tonight against Calgary. We'll be back again next week as normal. Then just a heads up, I am going on vacation on a cruise for like 8 days the following week. So Vasili and I were talking. I told him maybe he could just like post a video by himself, just with thoughts, like unedited, whatever, just raw, just him talking. Because I know he's obviously awesome. So at least he can fill the void the way I am right now without having him on. Alrighty. Okay. Shout out to our sponsors, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Make sure to go get yourself a cheesesteak from Jim's. They have one of the best, not the best, not the best, but the best cheesesteak in Philadelphia. Again, Jim Steaks at 4th and South. Public Summit Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Go to them for your insurance adjustment needs. They will help facilitate the process between you and your insurance company and make sure you get the best claim possible. Public Summit Adjusters, 215-752-0560. Shout out to SportsSpider.com. They are our partners. Our stuff from FlyersNittyGritty.com is pinned at the top when released, so make sure to check out sportspider.com. And also, please, if you made it this far, please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell for notifications. For the audio version, go to Spotify and iTunes. Give us a rating and a follow if you can. Again, this is the best way to support our show. If you haven't done that yet, it would be amazing if you could. We really appreciate our last episode, like doubled views for the previous stuff. So we're kind of getting into, the other sports fans now kind of coming back to hockey, which is pretty cool. Plus the Flyers have been good. So I think it's been capturing more attention. So we're almost at that season, where hockey and basketball take over. Good luck to the Eagles. They got one more game left on the season, but I am pumped to see them in the playoffs. I follow every team, for those who are not aware. My roommate is obsessed with sports. I've gotten him more into the Flyers, though he used to watch them back in the day. And he got me into every other team. So I can literally talk about every Philly sport, at least the top four. I don't know anything about the Soul. And even though I grew up playing soccer my whole life, I don't care about the U.S. soccer league. It's not good enough for me to pay attention to. All right. Thank you, guys. We love you. And remember, always stay